Okay, back to looking at another influence on human resource management. We're up to technological influences. Okay, so again, video is attached here. You need to look at the Google Classroom version to access the clip, or copy and paste the URL. Okay, so technology changes the way that the Human Resource Department contacts employees, stores files, and analyses employee performance. Used well, technology can actually make the human resource practices much more efficient. When used poorly, it can actually get in the way of managing the company's human resources. Good human resources practices maximise the benefits and minimise the problems. Another video. Okay, so recruitment has been transformed by the internet. Before the internet and email, connecting with job seekers meant phone, FaceTime, or a letter. By FaceTime, I mean actual face-to-face in the same room, not an app on your phone. Okay, it is now routine for companies to post openings online and require job seekers to apply through an online applicant tracking system. That frees up a great deal of time that human resources would have spent dealing with paper resumes or making personal calls. However, HR practices don't always take into account how well the system works for the candidates. Online forms have a bit of a standardised format that often makes it hard to tell a star performer from a slacker. A badly designed system with confusing instructions and slow response times can actually turn job seekers off to applying with a firm. Technology has made ways of communicating easier. Okay, so with email, text, and messaging apps, it's easier than ever for human resource staff to stay in touch with the rest of the company. If a manager wants to share a new schedule with his project team, one email with an attachment can share the word with a dozen people at once. There is a risk of relying too much on tech as a time saver, though. Some information that requires a 2-page email may be better off delivered to the group face-to-face. That way everyone can ask questions and hear the answers. Much like this online learning is for you guys, being in the actual classroom, being able to ask questions at the time, obviously eases understanding. Data analysis of employee performance. Okay, so analysing employee performance used to depend on personal assessment and obvious standards. Did the employee finish the task on time? Does their boss trust them, etc.? A whole bunch of questions. Technology actually makes it easier to gather and break down data on employees to get an overall picture. Which tasks do they perform best? Do they meet all the goals from last year's performance appraisal? If they fell short, was it by 12%, 50%, or 75%? Software programs can even take over much of the work in evaluating employees. But there is such a thing as too much data. As human resources makes more use of data collection and analysis, employees might feel that their privacy is shrinking. If a company has security cameras that monitor employees every second, it can be easier to find the facts behind a harassment charge or someone drinking on the job. However, being constantly monitored can alienate employees as well. Good human resource practices involve not only knowing how much data can be gathered, but also how much should be actually gathered. Another risk is that the human resource department can end up getting more data than it can manage. After a certain point, wading through data to pick out the relevant material becomes an impossible task. It's also possible that human resources will misread data or make assumptions that a face-to-face conversation could clear up. Security practices. Okay, so in the 21st century, the best human resource practices have to include security for all that digital data that they are collecting. Some security is more than an IT matter, such as a good firewall. Talking to Miss doesn't know much about technology, but I think you understand what that means. Human resources needs to have good policies in place, though governing who can access confidential data, both the hard copy and in electronic form. So, for example, at school we have Central, and a lot of data is available in Central, including your birthdays, addresses, phone numbers, contact details for parents, and emergency contacts, medical records, so on and so forth. You wouldn't want anybody just to be able to access that. Only teachers can log into that system and see that particular information. There is a version of Central that parents can access, but they do not have access to all of that data that teachers have access to. And most parents don't access it anyway. All right. Okay, finishing off the technological influence on human resource management, I've given you another little video. Please remember, the videos are useful. They can help you understand the concepts a bit better. You can see things working in real time in some cases. So please make sure that you are going back to the Google Classrooms version and watching the videos. Thanks.